don't think I have seen a braver show than this. It got shut out of Emmys because this show triumphed because it was starting conversations that women have been having for a really long time. And then men were like, what's that word, huh? Okay, I'll make a whole show on something I don't know anything about and mansplain it. But whatever, good acting, good storytelling, great camera work, all in one shot, blah, blah, blah. But this is the show. This is the show. I hope if you have not seen this show, please do yourself a favor and watch this show. And I'm going to tell you why. Because I have not seen a show tackle so many hard topics and handle it so beautifully and actually start conversations that I don't see many shows or many people talking about. For instance, the love story between these two friends. Much like Grace and Frankie, which is one of my favorite shows of all time because it shows you that real, like the most beautiful love it can be the friendship between two women. That is more rewarding and beautiful than romantic love. Platonic love can be so like world changing and more satisfying. And this show did that. These two loved each other so much. But that's not even, that's just the beginning. This woman, survivor of Inchmess, childhood essay. Also dealing with like doctors who don't take you seriously and gaslight you and you end up dying because of them not listening to women. It talks about caregiving and what an enormous job that is. And yet the resentment that might build because of that. And then how the codependency between two people can occur because one person's helping and the other person's like, but I should sacrifice everything. And then there's also like relationship with your mom when you have an addiction, and then also not having being in her 30s. She didn't want to die having not had an O. She'd never had an O because of some of the things I just listed. So she goes out on this tender bender, which I did not have my first O until I was 36 for the same reason. She goes out and has the craziest sexual experiences ever. And then she finds this beautiful love story with the most okay, I'm going to do a mini review. If you want me to go deeper into any of these topics, please let me know which ones. Please tell me in the comments. Because I have probably 84 ideas every day of the things I want to talk about. And I have photos and everything. My biggest problem is deciding what to do videos on. And y'all's input helps me. Because there's so many things. There's so many things to talk about. And also, before we get started, if you like my content, there is a free tier as well, but Patreon is where you can find me. I have lives over there. I do great interviews with people. I'm about to start releasing those, 40-minute versions of these epic interviews. I do watch parties, hangouts, travel content, personal stories, all this stuff over there. And you can keep up with me if you want to, in case, I don't know, algorithm doesn't send you my stuff, or I just disappear one day because something gets banned, right? So there are so many, I took so many photos so I could remember these amazing topics that this show covered. And I took photos of some of the scenes to remind me, but I can break these down more. But for instance, it goes into how caregiving is it is a lot of work. It's a huge responsibility. And it's also a beautiful thing. And how she is her whole life is becoming consumed by it on many levels. And her friend is her friends are trying to make sure that she doesn't lose everything in her life while she's taking care of her friend who is diagnosed with cancer and has not long to live. She'd had cancer before. I haven't watched this since it came out, so I'm a little blurry, but because it was nominated for Emmys and I was reminded of how much I love this show. From what I remember, Michelle Williams' character had breast cancer or something and then was in remission. And then basically something happened and the doctors wouldn't listen to her until it was too late. And then basically she finds out that she has a death, it's over. It's over. It's terminal. She's dying. And her friend is she leaves her husband, who is a feminist kind of guy, but not really. And she she wants to the end of her life to have meaning. And not just be putting up with stuff. And so she becomes so fucking bold. She takes back her life in every area, right? And so she has her best friend, decides to be that person who is her caregiver and dies with her, basically, But then she has friends. It's like, you need to set boundaries with her, with this sick person, She's like, oh, I'll work on my boundaries with my dying best friend. Okay. And so I have never been in this situation. Like, be very careful if you watch this show. I actually, after I watched it, I, left Liz. Y'all know I talk about her all the time. She's my, BFF. I was like, oh my God, this show just gutted me. Oh my God, I can't. And she was like, I'm not going to watch it. I can't watch it. I can't imagine going, we're real, this is, but I can imagine myself being in a situation where I, said goodbye to literally everything in my life to spend the final precious moments with my best friend. The ugly parts of it, the painful parts of it, the funny parts of it. And this show is so funny. It is so funny. Every moment that is painful has the perfect dark humor joke that's that's anybody who, well, if you have a sense of humor like me, I laughed at my dad's funeral because there's just every moment, I know how to laugh in the most painful moment. Sometimes it's escapism, but more of it's so ridiculous. It's funny. It's so crazy. It's so hard that you can't help but laugh at it for a second before you go back to being devastated. And her friend's I thought you were just going to take her to some doctor's appointments and stuff. I had no idea you're going to give up, everything else in your life. And so, and the thing is that the caregiver needs support too, right? Because they're caring. And I know Elizabeth Gilbert just came out with a book on a very similar subject. I don't really want to talk about it right now. I do have a lot of thoughts. I feel like I'd have to read the book before I truly talked about it because I have a lot of thoughts. Anyway, especially as someone who struggled with codependency, it's a very complicated story. And your whole identity is to save somebody. But that's not this. This seemed like a healthier way of dealing with this subject. And she talks about how she has blood on parts of her shirts, on half my shirt. And I'm going to be happy that this stain is here when I don't have her anymore. Oh, lines like that, man, they killed me. I don't even know what it's like to go through something like that with someone that I love so much. I have experienced death. But I'm telling you, even with a complicated death, like the death of my dad, death is permanent. It is final. And it's hard and complicated when it's with someone that you love or related to, but when it's this level of love, I know some of y'all who follow me have been through this or maybe even currently in this. I don't know because I haven't been through this. I would love to hear your thoughts on this, but it made me think about stuff I have never thought about what it would be like to go through this. And I was crying, just picturing myself in this situation. And I think the fact that I live so far away from Liz is why this was devastating for me. There's a whole ocean between me and her. And lines like this, the world without Molly in it doesn't make sense. It's stupid. And this is actually a scene, I don't want to ruin it for y'all, but this is a scene where her boyfriend at the time, and this is towards the beginning, she's having a hard time being with her boyfriend. He's having a hard time with her because she's gone all the time. I don't know, I feel like it really weighed how complicated and how much impact all of these things have. She wouldn't miss this for the world, but then she's also kind of ruining her relationship with her boyfriend, maybe because of the way she's doing it. Because she comes in here and she says you're telling me about your day and it's so stupid. I'm watching my best friend die and you're telling me about how long you had to wait for the frickin' train. And that's so relatable in for me in terms of a lot of things, but when you're going through something and you feel so alone because nobody, if when you're grieving, for instance, you feel weird that everyone else is just moving on with their day, or if you're fighting something, if you're dealing with something really, really traumatizing, really huge, for example, a death. And you want to be sad. I remember trying to wait tables knowing my dad was dying and first realizing it. And I would cry at the tables. And I'm like, this is so stupid, being like, what kind of barbecue you saw? Sweet or small? Like, to me, it just made no sense. The spicy, sweet. Like, I didn't care. I don't care what kind of salad dressing you had. Like, having to pretend that everything is fine when it wasn't fine, and having like boring, dumb conversations. But then also appreciating those, like, it's just constantly conflicted because you feel like you're on a different planet. And then you also feel stupid for thinking that you're the only person with those problems. Like, everyone else isn't going through their own stuff. And like, you're the only person on the planet who's ever grieved before. Like, you're judging yourself for having, whatever. It is a very isolating experience when you're going through something really big, either alone or seemingly alone or just whatever. And this show captures it so beautifully, where you'll like, she's like, I don't like being around you anymore, right? Because he's like, doesn't know what she's going through every day with her friend. She's bored with these dumb conversations because all she cares about is what's happening to her best friend. And he's just like, I don't like being around you either. And he has valid reasons for saying that, because she is being really harsh and really hard. And that sucks because you're my favorite person in the whole world. The other thing, I really felt like this show really, even the guy, even the husband that she left, the feminist husband that Molly left, even at the end, I was like, okay, he's not so bad. I feel like they treated each character with so much humanity, because that part of me, that feminist part of me, is like ready to criticize any of these men. And I was like, I was like, I don't hate you. I can see your point of view, especially it's clear that you really love this girl, and she's just not available at all because she's going through this really intense, traumatizing experience of slowly bearing and caretaking, and then, helping her friend die, her best friend die. And, and you get to hear his point of view of like the people who are close to the caretaker. Like he feels, that it's hard for him too. And I think that it does a really good job of like the butterfly effect, and just how, it's like the caretaker, like the person dying is going through it. Like they are centered, rightfully so. But then the caretaker is going through it and having their own journey because they're the one losing somebody. They're not dying, but they're losing somebody. And then they're also losing other parts of their life if they're consumed with this death. And then the people who love the caretaker are also going through their own journey. Like it is so beautiful how it shows the human experience. And then it also talks about, and Margaret Cho is so funny and I love her. The scenes that she's in, she steals. This scene, I was dying. It is so fun. It is so funny and heartbreaking at the same time. That to me is the best fucking storytelling in the world, is if it punches you in the gut to where it hurts and you cry from the pain and you laugh at the same time. This show masterfully did that so many times. So in this scene, it's talking about, she's sick. There's a group of them. They're all, terminally ill, and they're trying to act out their emotions and their feelings. I forget the exact context, but they're all like trying to work through stuff. And she's trying to do a dance or like a, interpretive thing with her body to act out what's going on. So she's talking about, sometimes I feel them pulling away, right? So it's like, the weight of being the one cared for and knowing what the people caring for you are going through. Like, so, and how she says, like, I don't blame them, like trying to put yourself in their shoes, like, God, this must be so hard. And then also, like, it's hard for me. And then also, like, I have to watch you go through this. And then I also understand why you're pulling away. Like, she says, I don't blame them. But then, you know what? Fine. I do blame them. The way that this show just forces the characters to be so brutally honest with themselves, it is so beautiful. But my wife isn't pulling away, and I feel guilty. So it also talks about like the guilt of the sick person. And like feeling guilty that when people love you this hard and do so. God, the depth of the experience of loving somebody platonically, like family, romantic, like whatever. It like, oh my God, y'all. But then it always is like has humor. Like I should start letting her go. Speaking of letting her go, because she reads her like poem or whatever, and then the person who wrote it acts it out. It's so funny. Speaking of letting go, I just shit my pants. Bye. Like, yeah. So you get like not only Molly's story, but then all of like then the perspective of other people going through it with like, and then she reads Molly's, right? The first man who told me he loved me was my mom's boyfriend. He made me say it back to him. I think he knew he was taking away love from me. He is there every time love is there. And they go like, so to explain this, there's this big part of this story about that explains why that she is so hell-bent on having an O. Why she left her husband and is like wants to fully experience the what her body can do. And we learn that her stepdad essayed her. And then we also get to deal with how that impacted her relationship with her mother. And so let's get into that. When she's telling this story in another scene is that her mom's boyfriend made her give him a BJ when she was 7. And so then their mom fell apart. Had to go to rehab a few times. And I had to keep convincing her that it wasn't her fault. So this goes into the parentified child, and how the children end up taking care of the parent. She's the victim of this. And yet her mom feels so guilty. She has to spend all of her energy trying to make sure her mom doesn't fall apart. Because again, and this is anybody who was parentified, right? Knows what it's like, where you have to self-abandon to make sure your parent is okay because your life depends on your parent being okay. Your life depends, you can't be fed, you can't be housed, that you would depend on this person for everything in those moments, maybe if it's partial custody or all the time, if full custody or whatever, if it's a parent or a caretaker, whoever. And so if that person's not okay, you do whatever you can to make them okay. So if it's your parent doing this to you, then you have to self-abandon and blame yourself and like make excuses and make it okay in your mind why they're doing this, because you need this person. You can't just walk away. You have to stay. But if it's the boyfriend of your parent, then you have to focus on making sure they're okay, self-abandon to make sure they don't feel bad, even if they did have some responsibility in this happening. For whatever that might be. We're never going to blame women for what men do, but also putting her in a position to be harmed or not believing her, or any of the lots of things that we know pick-me moms can do, right? And so, and this is the experience of kids who grow up in homes where they're being abused or there's something happening and they have to take care of their parents in order to not die, right? So everything is about making sure their parents are okay. I got tired of doing that after 30 years, so now sometimes we don't talk for a while. And so a beautiful part of this story is her relationship with her mom. And I don't want to spoil anything, but I mean, what she's trying to do is end the self-abandoning and absolutely live in her, like be thoughtful. Like that's why I'm like, don't worry about being too selfish. We are so on the other end of self-abandoning that we end up being really selfish in our codependency. So we have to be like, what do I need, right? And how do I stop like pretending? How do I stop acting out this script I didn't even write? Because we can't show up for anyone else if we don't even know who we are, right? And so she is doing this in her final months on earth, and she's doing it so fearlessly, y'all. And there's this one of the scenes where she's talking with her mom and she's being so brutally honest, and they're having such a deep, hard conversation, and she keeps forgetting the words that she wants to use, like, I forgot what I was trying to say, friggin' chemo brain. And so she starts acting out the words. She's like, wait, what word is this? And her mom's guessing. She's doing, rag doll, little scary rag doll. And she's like, no, broken. It makes me feel like I'm broken. Like this scene is, again, one of the most brilliant scenes I have ever seen. Because it's so real and it's such a hard conversation, and yet this chemo keeps making it like, she's like, so I don't want you here, okay? Then she keeps trying to talk, and once again, she can't think of the words. Again, she's like, glue, weaving a basket, heal, I'm trying to heal. And then the mom's like, I want you to heal. That's why I'm helping you. And no, don't help me. Maybe I let you think that you help me because that's what I've always done. I have to be the one to protect you. I'm the one who has to make sure that you don't do wrong and try to unalive yourself. And then her mom says this. It was a very hard moment for me. And that look is perfect. Because here she is, she's trying to say, like, I don't want your help because you suck at helping. And I'm the one who's been the parent here, basically. You know, making sure you don't die. Yeah, that was a hard moment for me. The hard moment was that she was sexually abused by the mom's boyfriend, and the mom cannot. This is such boomer shit right here. Not all boomers, okay? But like the ones who've never been to therapy and really just don't understand because of their own shame and their own like stubbornness around seeing like their impact on their kids. And again, therapy wasn't as readily available and all that stuff. Like some of them are doing amazing stuff, right? But a lot of boomers are just like, they can't get out of their own, like, they're out of their way to understand why their kids are so angry at them. And she's like, it was a hard moment for me, dude. And she goes off. I am so sick of your guilt. Like, every time you look at me, you feel guilty. And then she's like, and this was such a beautiful conversation because you really got to see the stories they were telling each other. And the one she's like, but I'm the one who left you alone with that man while I was passed out down the hall from whatever he put in my drink. I'm the one who let him ruin you. Interesting choice. Stop it. I'm not ruined. Ugh. I don't blame you. So then they fight about this, you know? You do blame me. You do. No, it's my fault too. So then you get to see them both realize the stories they've been telling themselves. I saw him put something in your drink and I didn't say anything. She, you know, and how Molly feels bad that he smiled at her sometimes. I liked that I had something you didn't know about. I liked that he chose me over you. Oh my God, right? Like, this conversation is so brutally honest. And it's messy. And it's so real because this is, you know, anybody who has had experience of someone in the house, but I'm just going to speak from what's very common is a man in the house who essays the child. Oftentimes a girl, not always. Plenty of he and they's, this happens to them. Sorry, him, my grammar's not right. But this is very common for girls, right? And the triangulation that happens, especially if it's coming from dad or stepdad, but especially dad, the triangulation that happens in the home between the mom and the daughters, or the wife, you know, / stepmom and the daughters or the kids, like the triangulation, it's like everyone is mad at everyone but the person who's causing all this harm to everybody. Right? And so then the victims of this man end up harming each other, but especially the one who is the most harmed gets harmed even more by the woman who, because of patriarchy a lot and her own conditioning and her own trauma and her own shit, will end up not believing the daughter or, you know, doing all this, right? Blaming themselves so much that it takes up all the space. And so the daughter is like, it's like, oh, it's so complicated. And so they had this beautiful conversation where they're like, is that what you think? Like it was, And the craziest part is that had she not been dying and been so pushed to be ruthlessly honest with herself and people in her life, they may have never had this conversation. You know what I mean? Like, they go back and forth some more. But this line right here, just tell me you forgive me, okay? I don't even care if you mean it. Forgive yourself. Yeah. Y'all, this is like next level therapy. I mean, even if this isn't you and someone that you have gone through this with, It is so healing to watch these conversations because you learn. This is why I love storytelling. I love TV. I love art. This is why I do what I do, because some people who follow me write to me and say they couldn't see this in their own story because they're too close to it. But when you see it in a TV series or a book or a woman with, messy hair and who screeches a lot online talking about hers, you may see it there. God, I love storytelling. Then there's this relationship with the neighbor, and I love him as an actor. What is the show he's in with Sharon Hogan where they have kids after like a one-night stand? I had not seen such a honest portrayal of parenthood until I saw, what is it, Catastrophe or something? I forget. It is so funny. It is so good if you have not seen that. And he, there's a reason why he was nominated for this. His acting was so good. And I mean, again, Michelle Williams is just unmatched. I've never had an orgasm with another person. I'd like to try with you because she has all these adventures with dudes. Like, for example, this is a guy from the dating apps. And the thing is, what I really like is the guys that she hooks up on the dating apps, a lot of, like, they really even humanize them. And when I talk about having had all these hookups that help me with a lot of my schmegdual trauma, people have a hard time believing me that I had, like, really, like, meaningful, like, oftentimes very touching, kind of life-changing experiences with dudes I don't remember the names of. Like, because it's a very intimate thing. And because you're not in a relationship and you're never going to see him again, you sometimes let down your walls more and get to kind of be braver in certain ways. And I love that. I really learned a lot about myself from all those hookups. It is very risky and can be very dangerous. I'm not saying everyone should do it, but for me, it changed my life. That my little tender bender, I became who I am and learned how to stand up for myself and say what I wanted and be bold and be like, no, I'm not doing that. Like, I did not know I was capable of being this way until I got to experiment in a lower stake situation with men that I didn't know, that I was just hooking up with, because I don't have all that emotional, like, oh, we're gonna date, or like any of the, like, I love him. It was just like, you just cared less so you could be bolder. And so it really was like humanized, like the way that a lot of the guys that she hooked up with, like, they were into some like freaky deaky stuff. And yet at the end of the day, they were like pretty normal and cool, You meet up with them at coffee. And so I think it also destigmatized a lot of like the kink communities. And I don't know, it was very bold. And so this one guy's like, I want to be peed on. She'd already been doing a lot of stuff. And she's like, yeah, let me think about it. Which again, I haven't told you that sentence right there changed my life. I didn't realize that I used to say yes or no to things so quickly. A lot of times yes to things I really should have said no to, because I've felt this sense of urgency from codependency and also like white supremacy culture, because that's a sense of urgency all the time, right? Instead of really being thoughtful and intentional. If you don't know what I'm talking about, look up the 15 tenets of white supremacy culture. This sense of like this people pleasing, this sense of urgency to just be like answer right away without actually being like, do I want to do this, or is this a good idea, or like what's the cost benefit analysis or whatever. And learning this line, let me think about it. So she thought about it, and then the next scene, I love this. Their love story is it starts off like so cruel and like just gruesome. Not cruel, but like very different. Very different, I'll say that. And it ends up being so beautiful. This isn't like, and she ended up, like she doesn't hate her her husband that she left, but she was like, I'm done. And went out and pursued, and like what she found by leaving something comfortable and safe that she knew very well but was not fulfilling was she found herself. She found her truth. She found herself. She found she was healing this relationship with her body. She felt what it was like to be just loved, and also like how difficult that is to be loved so hard by somebody who is not going through what you're going through, like her friend or this guy, and having to remind them that you're not dying, I'm dying. And also not let them completely self-abandon and self-sacrifice too much to the point where they're going to resent you or try to kill you like Elizabeth Gilbert did. And it's about forgiveness, and it's about being but not forgiving because you feel you have to, and not forcing yourself to forgive, but because you have brutal conversations you didn't know how to have before. It also makes you question like why you're doing things and how hard it is to let people love you. Like that, it really explored that topic a lot. How hard it is to let people love you, and how some of us, I mean, I think a lot of us, and we hopefully learn with time and maybe with therapy or just working on ourselves in community, in relational healing, that it is beautiful to let down your walls. Not be stupid, and be delusional about like red flags and stuff, but like with the right people, like how beautiful it is to let people in and love you when you try to do everything to push them away. I mean, this has literally been the story of my life. And how some of us don't realize that how capable we are of loving. I know that I've had a story that I've told Liz is the first person that really, really helped me understand that I am capable of love. And then, with Anthony, I thought I was too terrified of commitment, but I wasn't afraid of commitment. And Liz actually helped me realize that. I wasn't afraid of commitment. I was afraid of being trapped. Those are very different things. And I was also really afraid of being seen. And I was really I had a lot of old beliefs that I really had not let go of for a really long time. But I love very hard. I do. I can. I thought I just was like this cold-hearted bitch, right? And she, in loving her friend at the end, she finds something she didn't know she was capable of loving someone so much. And I love this line right here. I know I'm ruining this for some of y'all, but I'm sorry. I hope you paused if you didn't want me to ruin it. Maybe you'll go watch it and come back. I loved this line. For me, it's like I'm never gonna be there at the start of someone's life. Just being as somebody who's like child free and stuff, which I get. I agree with this. I do think that, as somebody who is an aunt to many children, I am there not from the very beginning and not at all in the same capacity. I can never be someone's full care. A child's. I don't know. You never know what's gonna happen. Who knows? So I'm not saying I'm going to have children, but you never know what's going to happen. Sometimes people end up having to take care of other people's children because of accidents and all kinds of stuff. So you never know. But as a child-free woman who will not have my own children, I love the way she framed this, because we get taught that we're selfish and that we're and I know that's BS, but I had never thought of this, of how okay, sure, I'm never going to like be there at the very beginning of someone's life and whatever. And I also don't think that we are meant to just be caregivers either, right? So I'm not just being like, oh, if you don't have children, you should be someone's caregiver. Please don't misread what I'm saying. But this was super important to her, that even though she wasn't there at the beginning of anyone's life, she will be there at the end. And that's just like, I haven't been someone's caregiver like this. I mean, I did go visit, like when my dad was sick, I kind of stepped up and was the person who, I actually took a lot of pride in the fact that I had forgiven him and didn't self-abandon to show up for him. I still moved to Spain. I still did what I wanted to do and needed to do. I just took a little extra time to do that. But I went and visited him. I did all this stuff. I stepped into a new role I had never assumed before, because I'm the younger sister, right? I'm the one, my sister was always like, almost like my mother, and I was the perpetual child. And I stepped up and did something that surprised me. It felt good. It felt healing for me. Because I wasn't doing it while self-abandoning. And, so she's explaining her point of view. I'm going to love this person right up until the end. I don't know, caregivers who have done this, I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments. We have moderators on here, so like feel free to share. You don't have to worry about being trolled. And also, like, it tackles ableism and our internalized ableism and our relationships with our bodies as we age, as we get sick, as all these things, as I've had like hypermobility stuff come up, my relationship to my body has changed, and I've started to see, oh my God, I have so much ableism in me. And this was like this, like my body did a really good job because, as you've seen, I don't know if you saw that, what is that Netflix thing where that girl who had cancer ended up taking, it was turned into like a fictionalized story, but about the girl who had cancer and turned she was doing like coffee enemas and stuff like that. And then a woman ended up basically making a whole empire on faking her own illness. But it really started off with a woman who was like, she didn't want to, lose her arm. And so and it really made me think a lot about my relationship with my body and how I've been so cruel to it for so long. And now I'm doing like a much healthier relationship to it, but I'm sure but it continues to be challenged as I age, as illnesses happen and stuff like that. And her just being like she's really, proud. Oh my God, I'm choking up. Being like really proud of her body for taking her as long as it did, and how, and then, but most importantly, this relationship with your favorite person in your favorite person in your whole world. Like this takes Grace and Frankie to a whole new level. Like Grace and Frankie, seriously, if you haven't watched that show, it is the most beautiful love story I've ever seen. And it's platonic love. And I hope one day, somehow, I will be able to meet Jane Fonda. I don't know how in the world that would ever happen, especially now that I live in France. But her and Lily Tomlin, oh man, that sitcom, I've probably watched it 12 times full, at least. It's my feel-good show. And this took that to a whole nother level. And it cracked my heart wide open. I was devastated by this show. I cried. It spun me out into a really hard, I don't want to say don't watch the show. I'm just saying it's hard, but it's so worth it. And it makes you really think about what's the point of all this. And just think about just how beautiful healing in relationships is. Because, I used to think I do all my healing on my own. I just, go to therapy, do my thing, and work on myself, but keep everyone out here. And that plan didn't work too well. It really didn't. That relational healing is such a beautiful thing. It's a brave, bold thing to do. It's very hard. And you continue to mess up, but it is unmatched. So anyway, let me know what y'all think. A lot of people requested I do this. Sorry if there were spoilers. Let me know if you want me to go into any of these themes in more depth. These movie reviews take me an insane amount of time, and I make like $20 maybe off of them. For days of work. And this is my only income. So actually it's a huge risk to do movie reviews, but I love doing them. So if only I could get paid to do this, I would do this so much better and more often. But also thanks to Patreon, I can afford to pay bills and do stuff I want more because. So thank you, Patreon people. Y'all literally make it so that I can continue to do stuff I love without having to just obsess over the algorithms. So anyway, thank y'all so much. Let me know what you think. Also, you can boost this video. Apparently, there's a boost button. Comment 5 words or more. Like, share, subscribe. Hit the notifications button. Follow my Patreon if you can. There's also a free tier. And let me know if you heard the comment song. Ceramics Festival comment song. This was in Lyon on Sunday. Look at all this art. All ceramic. Handmade stuff. Oh, look. Look at that little dude up there, and then look at that. It looks like a castle, but of course it's a church. Look at all this stuff. Look at all this stuff. Art, 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 art. Whoa, another church. Oh my goodness, look at this. I swear to God, sometimes I forget I live in a crazy, beautiful place, and then I get on my bike and I go out to the old Lyon, and I'm like, damn, I'm a lucky witch. Anyway, look at this. Look at the chickens. Those were 12 euros. The chickens, handmade shit for 12 euros. What the hell? Look at that. comment song. I do a lot of travel content and other stuff on my Patreon. Check it out if you want to. Mose hates it when I sing this song. He's pitching a fit right now. And anyway, look at all this cute. Look at the pool. Look at the pool. Join my Patreon for more travel content. Bye.